Lords of the Fallen is a Souls-like developed by Hexworks Studios. It released in late 2023 to a very mixed reception. Many people have strong feelings one way or the other about this game. I, however, think it's decent. It's fine. It kind of feels like Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne conjoined into one lesser game. There's a lot of content talking about the game as a whole out there already though, so my intention is to zoom in on perhaps the only thing that sets this game apart from other Souls-likes: its inclusion of invasions. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Big Charles, and I make videos about games, mostly Souls stuff, a lot of invasions stuff. If you want to see more, I'd greatly appreciate you pressing the YouTube buttons for me. This is a small channel, so that'll help you find your way back. So yeah, Lords has invasions, and this alone is a huge win for the game. There have been a lot of Souls-likes, and I've enjoyed a fair few of them. Lies of P, Bleak Faith, Salt and Sanctuary, Crab Champions, Nioh 2, Mortal Shell, and probably a bunch of others that I'm forgetting about. Remnant. But all of these games are missing something downright essential to the Souls experience: invasions. So right off the bat, Lords presents a much more complete feature set for a Souls-like that's drawn my attention since the game was first announced. As I'm sure many of you have heard, the invasions in Lords are pretty flawed, as is the game as a whole. I'm not here to dispute that, though I do think that when the stars align and the connection is good, as well as you get matched to a player of a similar power level, the PvP plays well enough. It can be pretty fun. But the reason that Lord's invasions are good has little to do with the invasions themselves, and a lot more to do with the fact that they're here at all. I hope that moving forward, more developers of Souls-likes and even other genres that might support something similar will seriously consider asymmetrical PvPvE encounters as a gameplay loop to cultivate and consider. And I hope that game devs as a whole, including FromSoft, start putting some respect on Invasion's name as a pillar of their game's success. Invasions, or generally any asymmetrical and seamlessly interwoven PvPvE mode, add a layer of uncertainty, intrigue, and intensity that make the Souls games so damn unique, and even the best Souls-likes like Lies of P and Nioh 2 ultimately end up lacking in replayability because levels will essentially play out the same way every time, and this just doesn't appeal to or excite me in the same way the chance for a living, breathing, presumably sentient opponent appearing at an inopportune time can. So anyway, that's my shtick. Every video game should have invasions, I guess. But how are they in Lords? I'd say they're almost good, but are held back by a few bafflingly stupid design choices and missteps that I'll cover as we go. But what do they get right? Well, the inclusion of a Sekiro-like parry and posture system is a highlight. It plays pretty well, but it's made problematic by the fact that they hide your own posture bar from you for some reason. Regardless of that guessing game, I do think perfect guards of some sort add some depth and skill expression to Souls and Souls-like games. The Withered Health system makes blocking, smart healing, and aggressive heal punishes all much higher stakes actions than in many other games of this style. Though again, this is held back by awkward latency and the extreme reach and forward momentum of basically all attacks. making fights feel pretty snowbally and one-sided, and they make massive heal punishes often feel unearned and kind of oppressive to deal with. The magic ranged attack system feels really smooth to incorporate into any build, even traditional pure melee builds. And in theory, this adds a lot of depth to setting up your build. But in reality, with the amount of forward momentum on melee attacks, ranged options tend to be a little bit irrelevant, and spells seem to mostly exist either for style points or to be terribly annoying. I actually like the matchmaking system, which is somewhat reminiscent of the OG Dark Souls matchmaking system, where it initially tries to match you with someone in your general level vicinity, but then continually expands the range until it finds an invasion, as well as implementing a Wex Dust type system that searches all areas simultaneously. This helps keep the game feeling much more active than it probably actually is, and I never found myself waiting more than 15 or 20 seconds for an invasion at any time of day. Unfortunately, the game's attempts to scale these encounters to be a somewhat fair fight completely fail, and it ends up yielding some truly inconsistent damage, both received and outgoing, from fight to fight, and it makes it really hard to gauge how effective your build really is. Lastly, I like that there's no prerequisite conditions whatsoever to being invadable, other than being in an area that supports an invader. This is great, though I do wish there was a way to beckon invaders, something like the dried finger. This is still a win though, it keeps the game feeling active. Even more sadly than the exclusion of a dried finger though, it seems as though a strangely small amount of the game, maybe 60%-ish, supports invaders. There are many areas and sub-areas that feel like you should be able to invade or be invaded, but they're just arbitrarily cut off. We'll talk more about that in a second. Now, I'm sure you, the astute Big Charles viewer, have noticed a trend here. Everything Lords gets right in its inclusion of invasions is overshadowed by something it fumbles. Underlying these missteps are two core problems that I've identified: the terrible networking system and the developer's misunderstanding of the point and appeal of invasions, as well as horrible game balance, but maybe we can chalk that up to them being very inspired by Elden Ring. Anyway, to keep it brief, the problem with the networking system is that rather than using a two-way peer-to-peer or P2P connection, like every modern FromSoft game, it utilizes a one-way system that only verifies actions on the host's end. I'll save you the time of over-explaining this. There are a couple videos out, I think G9, Steel, probably other people put out videos about this when the game launched. But it essentially means that on high ping, everything looks pretty normal for the host, but the game just becomes literally unplayable as the invader. You're constantly guessing what might be happening on your opponent's screen, and if you throw a cooperator into the mix, it can just be downright miserable. There need to be two-way checks in really any P2P connection environment for the game to function for both parties, and hopefully this is something Hexworks and other devs can learn from. Where Lord's invasions fall the shortest though, is actually in the meta structure of the invasions themselves. It frames them almost as a random and sudden compelled deathmatch, rather than the addition of a tough human-controlled enemy to the level. By this I mean, when an invasion occurs, the majority of the level is temporarily closed off from play by the game's fog wall stand-ins, and it essentially is a fight to the death in these very limited confines. As an invader, this kind of guts the tactical element of the experience that really calls to me. It takes away your agency to do what invaders do best. There's very little opportunity to set up ambushes, make crafty escapes deeper into the level, or really do anything other than just duke it out with the host and potentially his friend. It essentially gives you an arena match in a random place in a random level. Sometimes there's PvE thrown into the mix, and I don't know, it's just lacking the soul and depth, the intrigue, the je ne sais quoi that I look to Invasion gameplay for. To function at their highest potential, Invasions really need to feel like a gameplay sandbox with many opportunities to use your level knowledge and quick wits to your advantage. In a game like Lords, plagued by poor netcode, a really low skill ceiling due to the insane attack reach, magnetism, and momentum, not to mention the wildly inconsistent damage curve, being thrown into a limited space with next to no options aside from having a duel or a 2v1 that basically serves as a build check loses its charm really quickly. I guess I just want to say that while Lords of the Fallen Invasions are a good thing, I'm sad to say that they aren't very good. That'll wrap it up, y'all. Thanks for watching. I'm Biggie Cheese, and I will catch you in the next one.